Hi there, I'm Gary, and welcome to the Galley. In the Galley today, we are going to be making the classic, the iceberg wedge salad. Now, the iceberg wedge salad made its very first appearance way back in 1916, making it, 106 years old, in a cookbook. And the recipe in that cookbook did call for gorgonzola in the dressing, but it did have hard-boiled eggs added to it. By the 1920s, it started popping up on menus all over the country. And by the 1950s, they started adding the blue cheese crumbles and the bacon bits. But by the 1970s, it started falling out of favor. And at that point, it got pushed to the steakhouse menu, and where it now resides as the classic steakhouse salad, and that is the iceberg wedge salad on almost every steakhouse menu in the country. By the 2000s, it started gaining in popularity again, and they're jazzing it up, adding fried shallots, adding a steak, adding grilled chicken, making it an entree salad. But what we're going to make tonight is the classic, the one that I know and love, the steakhouse version of the iceberg wedge salad. And that is that cool, crisp iceberg wedge with that creamy blue cheese that just runs down and all of the layers of that iceberg wedge, that bacon bits scattered throughout. You get that little bit of smokiness, and then you get that little bit of sweetness from those cherry tomatoes. And that is the version that we're going to make tonight. And to do that, we need to make some blue cheese dressing. The most important thing, I think, is the blue cheese dressing. There's a lot of blue cheeses out there. There's a lot to choose from. Pick your favorite. Pick the one you know. Pick the one you love. I happen to have two in the refrigerator. We had a big heavy lunch today, and Billy said, let's just have a salad for dinner. And in my head, I thought, what do I have? And I knew I had all of the ingredients to make this iceberg wedge lettuce salad. Sorry, it's been a long day. But I knew that I had everything in it, and I always have blue cheese in my refrigerator or in my freezer. If I'm out and I see it and it's on special, and I don't really even care what kind, I will snatch it up and have a little cheese drawer in my freezer. And so I always have blue cheese. So Roquefort is probably one of the oldest and strongest of the blue cheese, and that is France's version, and they do make theirs with sheep milk. Stilton is British's version of blue cheese. Gorgonzola, which I have here, is from northern Italy, made with cow's milk, and the gorgonzola is a perfect choice if you're making a spread or a dip or melting it in something, because it is very smooth and creamy. The American blue cheeses, I think probably the one that most everybody knows, and which the name that everybody's heard of, is the Maytag blue cheese. The Maytag blue cheese was invented in about 1946, and they use exclusively for their cow's milk Holstein cows from a certain region of Iowa. And that's how dedicated they are to that blue cheese, because it's different. Every blade of grass is different, and every kind of grass is different. So depending on what grass that cow is feeding on, it's going to change the consistency and the taste of that milk, and therefore that cheese. So Maytag are very particular about the milk and the Holstein that it comes from. I also have a Dana Blue, which is Danish's version of blue cheese. Again, made with cow's milk. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the gorgonzola, and I'm going to use that for my dressing, and I'm going to use the Danish to crumble on top. So the dressing, I think, is super important. But I understand if you want to go out and buy some dressing. And if you do, just do me one favor, and that is go to the produce section and buy one of the blue cheese dressings that's fresh and cold. The dressings that you find in that center aisle are made with cheap oils, and I think your blue cheese dressing, which shouldn't have any oil in it, would probably have an oil in it. And I'm just always wary of something that I think should be cold and is stored not cold. So if you do go out and buy your blue cheese dressing, just do me a favor and buy the dressing in the produce section that's cold. But for now, if you're ready to get started putting this salad together, I'm ready too. So let's go. So for my blue cheese dressing, I'm going to do 4 ounces of blue cheese. This block happens to be 5 ounces, but in the written recipe that you'll find over at Gary's Galley, it's going to say 4 ounces. But my feelings aren't going to be hurt if there's 5 ounces in the blue cheese dressing, because I don't think you can have enough of the blue cheese in the blue cheese dressing. So I just want to start by giving this an initial crumble and get it just broken up as best that I can. So this is looking pretty good to me, pretty mixed up. And to this, I am going to add a cup of mayo. And on my boat, it is always, always, always Duke's mayo. I think it's the best, unless I make my own, and I don't know that I'll do them. I'm going to do 1/2 cup of sour cream. I am going to start with 1/3 cup of buttermilk. And I might come back and add more depending on the thickness of it and if I want to thin it out a bit. If I'm going to do a dip for like wings, I want to leave it pretty thick. But for my dressing, might want to thin it out a bit. And to this, I'm going to add just a little bit of Worcestershire. And I am going to add some red wine vinegar. And I'm going to add 1/3 cup of red wine vinegar. And I'm going to add the juice of 1/2 lemon. So we're going to give that a mix, and then we're going to give 3 good pinches of our kosher salt. And that's really going to help bring out that blue cheese flavor. And then, of course, our 5-pepper blend. Now, I will tell you, it is best if you do this 8 hours or the day before, because the longer this dressing sits, the better it's going to taste and the more those flavors are going to come out. But because I just decided to make this for dinner tonight, we're just going to have to go with it as it is. So, on to building our salad. We've got our dressing made and chilling in the refrigerator. And typically, 1 head of lettuce would make you 4 salads. And I leave that little bit of root intact, and that helps hold it together. And I like to stew mine up like this, because then that dressing will run into all of that bit. Sometimes in restaurants you'll see it done like this, but this is my preferred way of building this salad. And we'll do 2 here because there are 2 of us. And we'll put that lettuce up there like that so that it can take all of that dressing in. And then that beautiful dressing that we made, we are going to spoon over the top. And this, of course, is a personal preference in how much dressing that you like. I will probably actually, Billy and I both like a lot of dressing, so I think I'll add just a little bit more. And then to that, we have our bacon bits that I cooked. And we're going to cover this in bacon bits. And then we have the cherry tomatoes. And a lot of times they just leave them whole, but I personally like to give them a little chop in half. And these are fresh from the farmer's market that I picked up today. And then for that extra added indulgence, we are going to do some extra crumbled blue cheese on the top of that salad. Because this is what it's all about. The blue cheese, the crispiness of that lettuce, the creaminess of that blue cheese. And this is the Danish that we're adding to the top. So just like that, folks, we have the classic iceberg wedge. And for me, to top it off, I think it just needs that sprinkle of salt and that grind of pepper. And then it is perfect. So we've got our salads made, and I have to get my knife and fork in here and taste one of these. You can hear the crunch of that iceberg lettuce. And I'm going to make sure I get some blue cheese and some bacon in this bite. And I'm going to put one of these little half a cherry tomatoes on there so that I get everything in one bite. Our dressing turned out perfect. Very pleased with that. Even though it hasn't sat overnight or even for 8 hours, it is very, very tasty. And it's so creamy. And that lettuce is so crisp. So great. And that sweetness from that tomato, the smokiness from the bacon. Make yourself an iceberg wedge. The next time you're at the grocery store and you see a head of iceberg and the blue cheese of your dreams in the deli counter, make yourself some blue cheese dressing. Make yourself an iceberg wedge salad. I mean, let's celebrate them. It's 106 years old. So I'm going to finish eating my salad. And until next time, safe cruising, you guys.